Welcome to another Gift of Health weekly wellness live. I am Dr. Arjun Rayapudi, and this is my lovely wife, Dr. Shobha Rayapudi. We're both co-founders of Gift of Health and lifestyle medicine doctors. We're here to answer any questions that you may have about food, lifestyle, and health. So this is your opportunity to ask us any questions, health-related questions, lifestyle-related questions. Let us know where you're joining us from, and also give a thumbs up or like or a love, share. Let your friends and family members know that this is happening here.
Yeah,
not many people know.
Yeah, if you're able to see us, hear us, let us know. Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that you're able to hear us and see us.
Hello. Okay, good. So the audio is okay. Hi, Marie. How are you? Good, good. So we will start looking at the questions. Meanwhile, you can let us know where you're joining us from. Here we have a question from Marie. I wonder if you could talk a bit about the gluten-free. For the first time ever, I'm going to try eating gluten-free for a while and see if it will help me to feel less bloated. I'm a sweets lover and a bread lover. Who doesn't love sweets and bread, right? So the biggest adjustment for me is to cut out the regular breads and sweets. I have bought some gluten-free breads and crackers. Is Ezekiel bread gluten-free? Thanks in advance. Well, it's a pretty loaded question. Many things to consider in this. One thing is you're trying gluten-free to see if it will help you with bloating. So we'll talk a little bit about what could potentially be the cause of bloating. And we'll also talk a little bit about whether gluten-free is the answer or not. One is if you are experiencing bloating, it could be due to many reasons. One is that you may have excessive gas going on, or you may have digestive issues where your food is not properly being digested. You may have like constipation, or some people have like irritable bowels, or something else may be going on in the bowel. Sometimes if there is like a blockage in the bowel, then also you can get bloated. So the thing is, most of the time, bloating is a simple problem, most of the time, like 95% of the time. But sometimes it could be something else going on. So you could try a few things on your own for a week or two. But in a week or two, if you're not seeing an improvement, it is important that you seek attention of your doctor. So what could the simple things being common? Irritable bowels are very common. Irritable bowels is a condition where you feel bloated, you feel like that your food is not digesting that well, and some people even have diarrhea and constipation. And sometimes it may be food sensitivity that you're reacting and like your gut is not digesting, not responding to particular food in a proper way. So the thing is, it is one area, when you say abdominal bloating, it is one area there could be many causes. Most of the time, like in our experience treating patients in the clinic and also helping people with changing diet, what we found is that most of the time, the abdominal bloating is due to some of the food choices. The common culprits being like if you're eating fast, sometimes people have a tendency to eat fast, and then when you eat fast, you also swallow more air. Then that's one common reason to get bloated. Or if you're eating meat, dairy products, and the processed foods, like our gut has a higher like irritability towards these foods, like the meats and the dairy products and the processed foods, they can easily irritate the gut. So let's say if you say that I'm not eating much meat, but You could be eating like dairy products, especially if you are a sweets lover. Every sweet, almost every sweet, we can guarantee you, unless it is prepared like in a special plant-based way, most sweets that you buy in the store are made with a ton of white flour, and they also have quite a bit of sugar, and they have oil, a butter, or cheese, some form of dairy. Like it could be there's some form of dairy in the form of butter or cheese or
milk itself.
Yeah, milk itself, and it may say modified milk ingredients. So you are eating a concoction of all the stuff that can irritate your gut. So again, like you may have when you're eating like sweets, flour is a problem, sugar is a problem, and then the dairy products are a problem, and the oil is a problem. So now, what do we do about it? So there may be an underlying.
Yeah. So definitely, like you have addressed about like bloating has many reasons, but like if when you're thinking of gluten-free, let's say if you got tested and if you find gluten sensitivity, so like only like 1% of people, like when it comes to gluten sensitivity or having celiac, so what we find is when we compare the population, like only 1 to 3% of people actually have that gluten intolerance or gluten sensitivity. So let's say if you're tested and found that you are gluten sensitive, then it's better to avoid gluten only on those circumstances.
So since you touched upon the gluten-free thing, right? Like, see, the only 1% of the population actually have pure intolerance, like that's a severe intolerance that is actually disease. It's called celiac disease. If you are diagnosed with celiac disease, then you need to avoid gluten, period. Other than that, if you don't have been diagnosed with celiac disease, then for the rest of the population, gluten products are fine. Like when we say gluten, that means like whole wheat stuff, oats and barley. These are totally fine as long as you take these things in an intact form. A very small percentage of people, like about 2 to 5% of people, may not have celiac, but they may have a bit of intolerance to gluten. If you fall into that category, then it's better for you to avoid gluten. Even when you avoid gluten, the best thing would be to go for gluten-free grains, which could be like brown rice or quinoa or buckwheat, like other stuff like, these are not grains, but other starches like corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes. So if you're avoiding gluten, then go for the gluten-free grains that are intact. If you want to avoid gluten and you go for gluten-free breads and crackers, you're not doing much good for yourself. Because what's the problem? Like if you go for a gluten-free bread and gluten-free crackers, have you noticed what are the ingredients in it? Gluten-free bread and gluten-free crackers, most of the time, they have some form of flour. This time it may be rice flour, or it may be like a buckwheat flour, or sorghum flour, or millet flour. Still, you're dealing with some kind of flour. That means powdered grain. And these gluten-free crackers and breads, they also have oil. And most of the gluten-free breads and crackers, they have eggs and dairy products. So eggs, dairy, oil, flour, sugar. Again, a concoction of all the things that could irritate your gut.
And cause bloating.
And cause bloating. Mm-hmm. So it's like this, like, if you're not diagnosed with celiac, going from gluten, like regular breads to gluten-free breads is like smoking a cigarette versus a filtered cigarette. I hope that makes it clear. So you're not choosing a if you have a celiac, as we mentioned, go for the intact gluten-free grains. It's very easy to find recipes that are like gluten-free and make on your own. But this is something that we really have to look into. Hey, the breads and sweets, if you make your own like plant-based, sweets, if you go to Gift of Health website, you have a lot of recipes, like if you want to make like black bean brownies, or if you want to make even cakes, or chocolate date nut rolls. There are some sweet dishes which are easy to make, and you don't have to use much gluten. Like, for example, if you're a sweet lover, you make a chocolate date nut roll. Just take a medjool date and take some sweet, semi-sweet chocolate chips, and
dairy-free chocolate.
Yeah, dairy-free chocolate chips, and you can use either a cashew or a date, or cashew or an almond. Stuff the date with the nut, and then make this chocolate date nut rolls. The recipe for that is on the Gift of Health site, and it's sweet. It will satisfy your sweet tooth. There is no flour, so things like that. So, we have touched upon several things here. So hopefully it gives you some ideas of how, if you want to go gluten-free, why it is important to go for intact grains, and also make your own plant-based sweets. And the other question you have is Ezekiel bread gluten-free? See, the thing is, Ezekiel bread, most Ezekiel breads also have a whole wheat, either spelt flour, or the thing is gluten-free. Ezekiel breads, they are made with sprouted grain. That means, like, instead of using just regular grain, they sprout the grain. And once it is sprouted, they grind it into a flour and make bread out of it. But it's made with a wheat, some kind of wheat flour or spelt flour. So Ezekiel bread is not gluten-free, but I would say it is much more healthier compared to the regular store-bought bread, because Ezekiel bread, they don't use any oil, and they use much less salt, and there is no dairy in the Ezekiel bread. So for these reasons, and they're also using sprouted flours, and they're organic as well. So we love Ezekiel cinnamon raisin bread, like the regular bread. Like, when we rarely go for them. So one other thing that we have done, like, we love bread, and instead of buying bread, we make our own blueberry waffles. So it's so easy to make. Like, again, the recipe for the blueberry waffles is on the Gift of Health website. Once you make these blueberry waffles, you can actually store them in your fridge, and you can pop them in your toaster, or heat them in the oven. It feels like you're eating some form of bread, but it is so healthy, like, compared to regular store-bought bread.
Yeah. So even when you're thinking in terms of eating gluten-free, it's better to think in terms of eating intact grains. So instead of thinking of eating breads or other things which are calorie dense, you can definitely go for making either rice or quinoa or buckwheat groats. So have them with beans, lentils, loads of vegetables, fruits, nuts and seeds. That would be an ideal combination of eating gluten-free, where you're not bloated and where your gut is also getting the rest, and you are you are actually promoting the healthy bacteria in the gut, which actually helps with a lot of gut issues. So it's better to go for that rather than going for processed food, or going for mostly calorie dense, like either going for pastas or breads. And instead of going for those items, see if you can just have rice and beans, or like any intact grain.
Soups and stews and sandwiches and stir fries. There are lots of choices. Like, you don't have to eat the same thing never again. There are so many choices. It just takes some time to prepare. Yeah. So Sadie is saying, you are what you eat. Believe me, because I ate something today and I'm paying the price this evening. You're so right. Sadie, sorry you're going through this, but hope you feel better. But our body is so quick to give us feedback. If we eat the foods that are not syncing with the body will tell you. And the pain in your belly and the bloating is a quick way of our stomach and our intestines telling us, giving us feedback that we are eating the wrong foods or like something needs to be tweaked.
Yeah.
So Rochelle is asking.
Yeah, so Rochelle has a question. Why do they put oils in vitamins? My doctor told me to take Cholesteroff Plus and it has sunflower oil. I'm eating a whole food plant-based no oil diet and wanted to stay away from oils. Notice some vitamins have glycerin also.
Yeah, so the reason why they put oils in vitamins is because some vitamins need oil for storage. It's to increase the shelf life that they add oils to this packaged vitamins. See, the thing is, the best way to get vitamins is to eat fresh fruits and vegetables, greens and whole grains and beans. The only supplement that we recommend when we are on a plant-based diet is to go for a vitamin B12 supplement. Otherwise, there is not a need to take any vitamin supplements unless you are deficient, unless you are in low, you're tested low for any that particular vitamin. Otherwise, just B12 vitamin and B12 supplements. They are not they don't need oils for storing them. Like most vitamins that need oil for storage are the fat soluble vitamins, which are A, D, E, K. Otherwise, the B vitamins typically they are water soluble vitamins and they don't need much oil for storage. So Marie is saying, thanks for answering my questions. I very much appreciate it. I believe it is the white flour and sugars and fats what we find it in sweets. I will let you know later if gluten-free helps me. Okay. Well, let us know, Marie. The thing is, when you're choosing gluten-free, see if you can make your own gluten-free stuff, because most store-bought gluten-free, as we already said,
are not healthy.
Yeah, they have eggs in them, they have dairy in them, they have oil in them, they have different, if not white flour,
Yeah.
they have different other flours, and also they have like sugars, added sugars. Yeah. And one more, thing that will help is focusing on the overall nutrient quality of the food. What I mean by that is like when you increase the intake of vegetables and fruits and whole grains and beans, your like cravings for eating sweet things and bread will go down. One of the reason why some of us like crave so much like sweet things is because we're not getting a balanced whole lot of nutrients. Like, but if you're hydrating well, you're getting 8 to 10 cups of water, and you are getting 4 to 5 servings of vegetables and 3 to 5 servings of fruit and 1 or 2 servings of greens and couple of servings of beans and couple of servings of whole grains. When you eat that way, then your need, like the tendency to crave sweet things, it goes down quite a bit. So hope that helps. Hope you feel better. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
So there is a question here. Lorraine is asking, are protein diets healthy diets? Can it be harmful? So Lorraine, the thing is, you're asking, are protein-rich diets healthy? The thing is, it depends. Are we talking about a diet rich in plant-based protein? Are we talking about diet rich in animal-based protein? In general, protein-rich diet means that for many people, it's just the animal-based protein. People equate protein with meat. So you're asking, are protein diets healthy diets? Means the typical is like, if I rephrase it, you're asking, is diet rich in meat and dairy? Is it healthy? Not really. Like, there is plenty of evidence showing that the intake of more meat, or like more animal protein, can damage our body in so many ways. So we'll start with some of the easiest things to understand. One is, the more protein you eat, the more kidneys have to function, because the protein, the breakdown products of the protein, are filtered by the kidneys. And to excrete all of that, the kidneys have to increase the filtration rate. So that is called glomerular filtration rate. That means kidneys are overworking. Over a period of time, that leads to kidney damage. So one of the first things that doctors recommend when the kidneys, even in the first stage of kidney, once the minor dysfunction in the kidneys starts happening, is recommending that cut back on meat intake, cut back on like protein intake, animal protein intake. The thing is that the intake of plant protein actually has a beneficial effect. Like, when you eat more beans, more lentils, more whole grains, more vegetables, your kidneys actually love it. Like, they heal much faster. So that's the effect on the kidneys. Similar effect on the liver. The more protein you eat, the breakdown products of the protein, it's called amino acids. The amino acids have to be converted into urea. This conversion of amino acids to urea happens in the liver. That means the liver has to work hard. So the more research shows that the more animal protein you take, it actually like you get more risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Like, it's called non-alcoholic steatosis or hepatosis. It's a fashion. It's a what do you call, like a scientific name for a fatty liver disease. So that means, like, the more animal protein you eat, the more fatty liver disease, more liver damage. The other thing that we commonly see is that people who go on this diets, the protein-rich diets like ketogenic diet, they have bad breath. It's called halitosis. And they also have like constipation. The more protein, the more animal protein you take, more constipation, more stomach acid, because excess protein, animal protein, it takes the more protein you take, the more acid stomach has to make in order to help digest that protein. To digest the animal protein, the stomach has to make an enzyme called pepsin, and the pepsin can only work when there is enough amount of gastric acid. So we talked about the effect on the kidneys, the liver, then the stomach, and then the acid reflux. The more acid the stomach makes, so you have acid reflux and also damage to the stomach.
And the esophagus.
Yeah, esophagus, yeah. And the protein intake also puts extra stress on the pancreas, because pancreas secrete an enzyme called trypsin, and other enzymes such as chymotrypsin, peptidase, and elastase, like 4 enzymes. All these enzymes, they help in the digestion of the protein. That means that the more protein you take, the more pancreas has to work. So we do see typically, like people who eat more amount of meat, they have like recurrent attacks of chronic pancreatitis. So acid reflux, pancreatitis, kidney damage, obesity, fatty liver. There is research showing that the more intake of animal protein are also not good for the heart, like it increases the risk of getting heart disease. And there is also a risk of increased risk of getting cancers, because the more protein intake, it increases the risk of production of IGF-1, which is an insulin-like growth factor 1. Increased IGF-1 level means that you have increased risk of cancers. So we can keep we can keep going. Like other effect of protein is intake of protein increases inflammation in the body. So you have more arthritis, more autoimmune diseases, more leaky gut. So this is all with the animal protein. But whereas if you go with more plant protein, like more lentils, more beans, more like vegetables, like all these have protein, plant protein, then you see the opposite. Like your liver is happy, your kidneys are functioning well, you don't have to deal with excess stomach acid. You can reverse pretty much heart disease. So lots of advantages of moving towards the plant-based protein versus like moving away from the animal-based protein and embracing more and more plant-based protein.
Yeah. And now that Thanksgiving is coming this weekend.
Yeah, in Canada, like in Canada, we are celebrating Thanksgiving the coming weekend, right? Like I know in US, it's the last like to the later part of November, but for us, it's just 3 more days, 4 more days. Yeah. So what are you guys making for the?
Yeah. So and I know some of you might be even wondering, okay, so if animal protein is harmful, like how can I cook my turkey dinners, or how can I cook foods or my Thanksgiving meal without having animal protein? So, do you guys have any idea, like what we can actually make for Thanksgiving meal? So it would be nice, like feel free to share like what you're planning to make for Thanksgiving meals. And yes, we can definitely create a meal without animal protein. So
yeah, has anyone here prepared like holiday meals, like Thanksgiving, Christmas meals, party meals, without putting too much meat on the plate? Yeah, we have hundreds and hundreds of Giftofhealth students who made so many different kinds of festive plant-based dinners.
Yeah, so Sean says plant-based jigs dinner, yes. And Gail says roast cauliflower and vegetables, yum, yes.
Yeah. So Sean, like, how do you make your plant-based jigs? So that's the jigs dinner. Like for those of you who are not from Newfoundland, you probably didn't hear jigs dinner. Jigs dinner is a traditional Newfoundland Sunday lunch at the dinner.
Yeah.
And many people think that the jigs dinner, typically you have to put like salt beef and salt and meat and all, but it's you can make a traditional Newfoundland jigs dinner with potatoes and carrots and turnip, cabbage, peas pudding, all without putting any meat. Vanessa is sharing sweet potato casserole. That sounds delicious.
Yes.
We do have lots of ideas, right? Like
Yes,
for
yeah. And typically, when people cook jigs dinner, they want gravy on top of it. So again, like we can make gravy with mushrooms, onions. So we have the mushroom gravy, like
yeah. So Sean is saying like I make the jigs dinner similar to usual way without adding the salt meat. So just make your jigs dinner. You just don't add salt meat, and then add like you could if you want, you can add a little bit of salt to it. And he replaces meat with the meatless meatloaf and plant-based gravy. So we do have a recipe for the meatless meatloaf on the Giftofhealth site, and there is a recipe for a mushroom gravy. You can see it in the comment. That's great, Sean. Thanks for sharing. And hey, like while we are continuing on this discussion about the Thanksgiving meals, we do have a potluck happening just this Saturday, day after tomorrow, in St. John's. And you are invited, like it's going to be at 31 Motion Drive, Torbay. We can type it in the comments. It's the potluck at, is it at 6 p.m.?
It's 5:30.
So 5:30, okay. This Saturday, that is day after tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Newfoundland time, um, in Torbay, St. John's. That's 31 Motion Drive.
Yeah.
So you can see it in the comments, 31 Motion Drive, Torbay. That's at
Yeah. So
5:30 p.m. the coming Saturday, day after tomorrow. That's 8th of October.
yeah, if you're living in and around St. John's,
Or if you want to fly from somewhere else, come to the potluck, you're welcome to.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can definitely fly in too.
Fly in, drive in, yeah. So there you have the recipes for a meatless meatloaf, mushroom gravy in the comments. Sean is saying he adds peas pudding too. Yeah. So we never grew up with this plant-based the jigs dinner. So we grew up like in India, where the food is so like so many spices and like so many flavors. So when we first came to Newfoundland and ate this like boiled potatoes and carrots and turnip, we were like, how do people eat this stuff? But it's been 12 years now, and we actually love it. Like it's nice to have this, and it feels light too. Like when you eat those all those vegetables like potatoes and carrots and turnip and cabbage, and have a side of peas pudding and meatless meatloaf and gravy. It's yeah.
Okay, so Sean is asking, no pets. I have severe allergies, especially to cats. Yes.
So no pets.
No pets on Torbay Road.
Yeah, no pets at the potluck.
At the potluck, yes. So you're definitely welcome. So you don't have to worry about pet allergies. Yeah. And what about desserts? So what desserts are you planning to make for Thanksgiving dinner or Thanksgiving meal? Yeah. So I know this is the season of pumpkin, and yeah, a lot of people think in terms of pies, puddings. So sweet potato pie is a good one, or even pumpkin pie is a good one. So like there are like loads of recipes for sweet potato pie and pumpkin pie. And anything else that you guys are thinking to make for Thanksgiving meal?
You can make carrot cake, right? Like carrot cake or the chocolate cake or yeah.
And thinking of pumpkin season, so definitely soups. You can also make pumpkin soup or butternut squash soup, or even buttercup squash soup. So you can make like delicious soups. And especially I know like this is the time you also think about eggnogs, which actually can be made with pumpkin. So like you can take pumpkin puree, add a little bit of soy milk, add a little bit of vanilla extract and pumpkin pie spice, and blend it together, and it makes beautiful eggnog. So the pumpkin pie spice, it gives a nice flavor. So that is something that you guys can try. And also like pumpkin pancakes. So like, yeah, lots of recipes in terms of like even if you want to cook pumpkin or add pumpkin to your dishes. So these are wonderful thing. And especially during this season, it's better to have pumpkin, because even pumpkin, they provide you with much energy, especially during this season. Pumpkin is a nice food to have, whether it is squashes, whether it is butternut squash or buttercup squash or pumpkin. So those are good to add to our meals. So either in the form of roasted vegetables, or either in the form of soups, or either in the form of desserts. So in whatever way you want to consume pumpkin, it's the pumpkin season. which is rich in nutrients and which is actually good during the season, which provides you with much energy, and it also heals you. Yeah. So yeah, so we have the sweet potato pie recipe also posted. Okay, sure. Most Newfoundlanders add
their favorite rum to their pumpkin drink.
Yeah.
Eric is asking, I love good spices that are healthy for me, but why do they always give me the worst heartburn? So, Eric, the thing is, when you say spices, which spices give you the heartburn? If you're not used to eating spices, it will take some time for your body to get adjusted. So then, like sometimes when we say spices, people think it is chili, like adding more pepper or chili. Like so, if you bring the heat of the recipe, like if you don't add too much like chili powder, then most spices don't bother much. So you're saying a lot of them. Well, the thing is, you have hundreds and hundreds of spices, so it's hard to help you without knowing what spices. So is it something that you could, turn it down, like turn the heat down? Don't add much chili and just add just little bit. And also, like, what are you eating them with? Are you adding spices to your vegetable and rice dishes? Or are you adding spices to your already uh, like hot, like chili based dishes that have meat or butter or cheese? Because most of the time the heartburn from the spices is either from the chili or from the cheese or from the butter or from the oil.
So Eric says garlic. Okay.
Yeah. Well, okay, garlic is a herb. So like again, so if the thing is garlic, you could adjust the type of garlic you put in. You can eat fresh garlic or you can roast it. Sometimes when you roast the garlic, then it's not that strong. And if one clove of garlic is too much, then use only half a clove. Yeah, chili, like, if you're not used to eating like chili, um, you will get the heartburn. So, like, when you say chili, typically it's you have beans in it. Like, are you talking about making plant-based, or do you put any hamburger meat in?
And also, like, is the chili, is it chili pepper or or chili dish?
Yeah. So if you're not used to eating too many beans, like when you start eating the beans, you could have like bloating and stomach upset. So most of the time that goes away within like 2 to 3 weeks. So the thing is, like, you're saying, Eric, like peppers cause you some trouble. So make a list of all the foods that cause you trouble, and then just you can always find. Mother Nature has given us so many foods. If you can't tolerate some foods, so you can always find other foods that you can tolerate. Rather than focusing on what we can't eat, we turn our attention to what we can eat. And most of the time, like if your gut bacteria are doing well, um, if your gut bacteria, like you have a healthy balance of good bacteria versus the bad bacteria, which happens when you eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, whole grains and beans, then it will be easier for you to digest the fiber, the beans, and also enjoy some of these spices as well.
So Sarah is asking, is boiled beans better for you than baked beans?
Well, I mean, pretty much baked beans or boiled beans, um, I would say not much difference, but in the boiled beans, you might have more water in them, right? So I would say maybe tiny bit of difference. Like the more water is in it, like it's easier to digest. Like baked beans, usually they have a little bit less water than the boiled beans. So whatever your stomach is agreeing with, go with them. Like there's not much difference in boiled beans versus baked beans.
The other thing is like when we are saying certain dishes, so let's say baked beans, what are we adding to that? Like, are we adding sugar to it or molasses to it or some? So even when we are making a particular dish, the things that we are adding to it matters. So when you're asking in terms of which is better or healthier, obviously things where we are just adding the beans, vegetables, so that is good. Like where we are not adding much sweetener to it or not much processed food to it, then it's always a better option when compared to dishes where we are adding a lot of sweeteners. So that makes a difference. It all depends on what we are adding to that particular dish.
And one way to lessen the need for a sweetener in this baked beans is actually adding some pineapple. Like we have a recipe on the Gift of Health site for baked beans, and our friend's mom, she made these beans like they're delicious. LMA, like she makes these beans with she puts pineapple in the baked beans, and they're delicious. So you can try them. Then you can get away with like less sweetener. Okay, folks. So we had fun answering your questions. Thanks for joining us. So we look forward to seeing you at the potluck happening this Saturday at 5:30 p.m. In Torbay, St. John's at 31 Motion Drive.
Yes.
So
yeah. And I know like this weekend is Thanksgiving, and if you're wondering, okay, like what can I make? So like there are lots of recipes on the Gift of Health website, so you can certainly look for recipes there. And even like when it comes to a Thanksgiving meal, like you can think in terms of, okay, what soup can I make? Like what starters, or like when you're planning for turkey dinner, you can also like make roasted cauliflower. So just we have just posted the recipe. It's instant pot cauliflower dish. It's really yummy. So you can definitely try that. Like instead of making turkey, you can use the cauliflower and try this recipe instead. If you're thinking in terms of turkey, and you can have roasted vegetables, and there are lots of options for desserts. You can make pie, sweet potato pie, or pumpkin pie, and like there are like loads of varieties, and obviously you can if you're from here in Newfoundland, you can make jigs dinner, meatless meatloaf. So there are loads of options like when you're thinking in terms of Thanksgiving meal. So we really wish you a very happy Thanksgiving and good time with your family. I know this is the time where you get to spend time with your family. So we really wish you a very happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next Thursday. Yeah.
Sure, everyone. Take care.